All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today. Nothing is into your head. I hope you don't do any damage. This is a Kiss-related podcast by the board, for the board. We hope that you enjoy. Welcome to episode 191 of the KissFAQ Podcast. I am one of your two hosts today, Julian, admin on the FAQ message board, and I'm joined by Marcus Almighty Mark.
How you doing, sir?
It may seem like a little bit of a light panel today, and hopefully a third person will show up shortly, and if not, you're just going to have to enjoy what we have to share. Let's do a little bit of the news, and Ross Radley's magic continues to astound me. I was a little bit of a doubter. I must admit that, as much as I am very positive about what he's doing and what he's trying to do, I was a doubter, and he continues to prove me wrong, which is wonderful. Making very good progress. Come over to the FAQ. There's a posted thread. If you haven't pre-ordered a deluxe or a standard edition of Magic, Kiss Chronicles 1973 to 83, you can find the link there. And of course, Ross is all over Facebook. He was on the Ages of Rock podcast yesterday, a very good interview. So obviously, classy gentlemen host that show who are good friends of ours. And Ross, really does come across well and presents a lot of interesting information. If you're not aware what his project is, check that out. Check out the podcast he did with us. And I believe he's going to be on Podcast, which, of course, is one of the gold standards of the podcasting community. So very good stuff. Don't wait. Get in there. Get your pre-order in so that it gets the book over the finish line. And Ross can just then focus on getting it out to us all in February 2019. Can't wait. Very excited. Another book, or more appropriately, a magazine. Balish, our good friend Alan, is back with another perspective genius work of Japanese photography, and this one's going to be called The Originals Plus One, and it's a vintage photograph from, I believe it's the Shinko Music Archives in Japan that he's able to license. 124 pages. He's expecting it to be out in September. You can go to kissinjapan.com for more information about that one, and of course find the Kiss in Japan Facebook group. Absolutely stunning what he did with the previous two and the book. Amazing stuff. So if you like to see previously unseen photos, particularly from Japan, then Alan is the one who can scratch that itch for you. And since we're talking about books, I got to do it. It's completely non-Kiss related, but I've just published Leopard Tracks 1978 to 88. That's the first volume. If you think of the Kiss on Tour series that I've done, it is a collection of detailed notes about the touring of Def Leppard during that period, set lists, newspaper reviews. So if you think that music critics only hated Kiss, no. They write the same shit about every band, basically. I think they probably got boilerplate. So that's just come out. It's up in hardcover. And, of course, the paperback I did make immediately available as well. Not that much price difference. But any recent purchases, Mark, for you? Because I bought no Kiss stuff. I did buy some stuff yesterday, which I'm slowly watching, but nothing official or nothing collector-worthy.
Well, I did, and this might be a surprise to some people because it's a CD purchase, first of all. And I like to be a completist, and for some reason, though, in my remaster series that came out on CD, there were two of them that I had never gotten for a long time. And finally, the other day when I went to the record store, they ironically had both of them in there. And you're going to think, well, really, you never had these? And yeah, I never had these for some reason on CD in my collection, and I finally got them. And one was the Dress to Kill. I finally got. I never had this one. I out of all the ones I've had, I never had it because before I had I bought one of those 5-pack ones where they had like 5 different albums in one little box there, and it had the first album, it had this one, and it had Destroyer, and it had the greatest hits one, and there was like 2 greatest hits CDs in there, and it was just one of those little cardboard miniature kind of album sleeve versions of it. And it had this, so I never ended up buying the actual proper one like this, right? So I finally got that.
Open that up.
And
What color is the CD? Because that always bugs me. I remember the original one I had I think in England was black. Okay. And the
yeah,
American one was white. So that sometimes they're white, sometimes they're black.
and it's funny that you bring that up because I looked at this, and this is the U.S. release of it, which is funny that I bought it in Canada. And then the other one that I bought was Crazy Nights. I finally got this.
Good lad. That'll give you hours and hours of pleasure.
Yeah, and like I said, I've always loved this album to begin with, anyways, because Turn on the Night is like one of my favorite songs. And the funny thing about this, pardon me, and when I noticed this, a little like dink went in my head, and I was like, no, fight the urge, because I noticed on the back that I don't know if you can see that, but it says "Made in Germany" on there.
Is that a sticker?
Yeah, it's a sticker on it, and also if you look at the information, it is also a German release. It has the same catalog number, everything. I checked it, so it is the actual German one. And if you look at the information on the disc itself, it has the BIEM information, like all their kind of registering stuff that they have.
But no alternate logo.
No.
No. Of course, they do make things for export. What I find interesting now is back when Best Buy still sold CDs, you'd go in and you'd find CDs that were manufactured in Mexico, Argentina, and Brazil. So I think it's the international community these days is wherever it's cheaper.
But the funny thing was when I saw this, that little think that went in my head was like, do I have to now go and collect all the German CDs now? Because I realized that I also had a Paul Stanley solo that was German. I also had, I think it was another one. I think it might have even been, let me think. I think it might have been, a Dynasty that's German as well. So now, the brain is doing that little battle now that I have with like, should I complete it and get the German ones? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth doing that. But, it's bad enough I have 9 versions of, Asylum and all these other albums on vinyl. So I don't know if I want to go down that path now on CD. And I've already, as you know, started my cassette phase now again too. So I'm like, oh boy, what am I getting myself into? So
good. I have about 400 cassettes to get rid of. That's my next thing to start unloading. Problem is the majority of my cassettes are actually those freaking black label, Black Spine 85 reissues. But because they have big window, little window, round window, square window, clear tape, polygram underlined, which is the post-1990 logo, the polygram with stars. Yeah, Julian, you are a loser. No one in their right mind is going to try and build it. Well, I've got to have a complete set of 85 tapes with the polygram cassette media that actually had the nice printed logos. Those are the earlier ones, which were used in the early 80s. So weird shit, but I'm a complete idiot. I admit it.
Well, I mean, I understand totally. I mean, like I said, I have some of my cassettes now that I've gotten. I got I have I'm starting to find for some reason the Best Buy series release cassettes now from Bowie, which I'm like, it's bad enough I collected all those ones as I could on vinyl. Now I'm looking for them on cassette. Like, what's going on with me? Like, why am I doing this to myself?
Yep, I buy cassettes. Recently some of the stuff, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but since there's only 2 of us here today, cut us some slack. But I do collect the original issues of certain cassettes. So I've been looking for the Dokken on Carrera on my cassettes, just so I can do a transfer off my deck here, and better than a vinyl rip. Rat, the EP on Time Coast, I managed to find some copies of. Twisted Sister, Under the Blade on Secret, and obviously Rough Cuts as well, those first 2 English releases, one of which is a completely different mix and was later re-released in, I think, 84, 85, whatever. I like it better. Sounds better. And, there's Great White stuff that was out independently before it was then reissued through EMI. Just dorky stuff, and of course Motley Crue's Leather cassette.
Yeah, of course.
Which is my all-time favorite rip and the one version of the album that I listen to. So, all right. So where are we? I think it's a hot topic for today, and it's one of the ones being discussed a lot on the message board and on Facebook and elsewhere. you and I think Lonnie did an episode 163 for people who want to go back and watch it. Vinnie Vincent Unplugged. The question that we asked in February, right after the expo in Atlanta, was, what sort of set would we like were Vinnie to unplug? And back then it was a concept that Vinnie might. He'd just been up on stage at the Atlanta Expo, had performed A Million to One, Tears, Back on the Streets, and he'd done a little bit privately during the meets as well. I think he only did A Million to One that I saw a video from. But it was a very interesting prospect. And now he has announced, Vinnie Vincent at the Guest House at Graceland in Memphis, December the 7th. He'll play for approximately 90 minutes. The acoustic performance will be married with songs and stories, so he'll be talking about these songs in between. Robert Fleischman will appear as a special guest. And, in the FAQ there, he mentions A Million to One, Tears, Back on the Streets, That Time of Year, I Still Love You, other songs that he wrote and whatnot. What's your take on this? It's something that we kind of had a fantasy topic about, now looks like it's going to become reality. What's your initial take on what Vinnie's going to do? And then I'll come in with my opinions.
Well, I'm actually kind of surprised, because having seen what has transpired over the last couple of months, I wasn't entirely sure he was going to actually go forward with any kind of performances. I'm happy that he is, because I am one of these people who was curious to see what the future held musically for him. So the fact that he's actually going to go ahead and do this now, I'm interested. I mean, obviously I can't make it down there to see it in person, but I'm more than certain that there'll be, tons and tons of feedback about it. I don't know how much filming will be done, because I don't think that'll be allowed. But I know people who will attend will obviously speak about it. So feedback in that way, I'm sure we'll get. But, I am curious to see what he's going to perform, because you have so many different opinions about the matter. Some people don't believe that he has any skill left, that it's all a bunch of hoopla, that he's been practicing 8 hours a day and all this stuff. Other people think that it's going to be a fantastic performance based on what they saw in Atlanta. So I think that we're going to get something similar to what he did in Atlanta, kind of very laid back, melancholy kind of performance of the songs. Maybe the songs might not even come across in a way that we might be expecting. Maybe he might do a complete rewrite of some stuff. Maybe he'll arrange it differently to suit his voice, or who knows. I mean, but the main thing is, it's a curiosity, I'll admit, but I want to see what he's thinking in his mind, like what kind of vision he has for these songs now. That's what I'm really interested in. What to him is the 2018 version of these songs, like A Million to One? What does he foresee? And that's what I'm curious to hear, about.
Yeah, it's the 30th anniversary since All Systems Go. I would be very interested to hear acoustic takes of Love Kills, That Time of Year, some of the other songs on there that are a little bit more mellow, some of the energetic ones. I think some of the speed bumps Vinnie has encountered in recent months, a couple of appearances aren't happening that were planned to happen. That is part of life. Things don't quite work out for one reason or another. But I'm very interested by this. The thing in Atlanta whet my appetite. It seemed like a very impromptu, kind of unstructured, maybe ill-considered attempt in Atlanta. He had the guitar out, he played some chords, he definitely had some idea of what he was doing. But I think given more time to bring a concept to fruition, to rehearse it, to have an auto cue down in front, maybe a bullet points of things to remember to talk about with the songs, could be very interesting. He's seen Gene do it, and, well, let's not say that Gene's actually done very much with his songs and stories. He's used it as a vehicle to talk more than a performance plus songs and stories. So if you think of VH1 storytellers, I think it's a completely valid thing for any artist, especially someone like Vinnie, who's so much a bit of an enigma. So I'm certainly very willing to put some of the drama of recent months behind me, more as I remain a fan of his music. I continue to enjoy those albums, those songs that he wrote. Robert Fleischman is a special guest. Well, it was a magical moment, and you can go on YouTube and, watch Mike Brunn's video, because his is some of the best that was shot that day. The magic was there. Can it be recaptured in a more structured thing? No, we probably had that one moment that was particularly special that didn't seem to be coordinated or planned. But if he's up on stage, it's a small venue. It looks absolutely awesome. And let me just get it straight out of the way here. I've already bought a ticket. I've booked my flies, and I booked my hotel. I hope I certainly have a financial interest in it happening. But, it is everything that I'm talking about is important to me as a Kiss fan these days. It's a special memory. It's an event. It's something unusual. It's something different. It's not the same, Sunday night I'm going to see Ace. Well, you can kind of guess what's going to happen there. Monday night I'm going to go see Ace again. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty similar to the night before. But Vinnie Vincent getting up on stage and doing a full acoustic set. Before that, he will only have done, he's going to appear at the Gathering in October and hopefully get up on stage with 4x and perform a couple of songs. That's not a Vinnie Vincent concert. That's not a Vinnie Vincent performance. That is up on stage with someone else. The thing in Atlanta wasn't a Vinnie Vincent performance. That was a, kind of
impromptu performance.
Yeah, I'm sure they planned it out because Bill Temple was there, with a guitar and everything, and they were set up for it. But a full 90-minute show with the songs and stories. Everyone's going to be different, and Memphis is a little bit tough to get to for me from San Francisco. There's no direct flights, but I'm still doing it.
Yeah, that's dedication. I mean, and that's it. I mean, obviously, it's that important to you as a fan that you're going to be willing to go out and do that. Because I mean, I had seen your posts about the struggles of the non-direct flight to there. So obviously, if it wasn't important to you, I don't think you would have went through nearly as much trouble to get to get over there to see it. So, I think a lot of people are in the same boat. Yes, I see that we're in the same mind frame today with that. So, I'm excited for you because I know that this is something that since we started talking about it back at that episode, that you were kind of hoping would happen. And I think you even said in that episode yourself that if that did happen, that you would go and see it, right?
Yeah, so. Everything that happens in life to me, it's like, what can we learn from things that happen? How can we move on? Does something someone does necessarily make you stop being a fan of their music? Or were we fans of Vinnie Vincent's music before he returned? In all those years that there was silence and maybe just news reports here and there of, more salacious kind of occurrences or events, which he really didn't have the ability to shape, not wanting to be in the public eye. Well, yes and no. Everyone's got their own. Mine is that it really is about the music. It really is about the things that I've missed as a Kiss fan during the 30 plus years, all of the events that I was not able to attend, all of the things I decided not to attend, that now I'm almost adamant that I'm not going to miss one of these special occasions because so many other Kiss fans have seen Vinnie in full concert in 86, 87, or 88, and I didn't. I've got that, basically that one Toronto video is watchable. So I don't want to miss it. And to each their own. I mean, some people won't go. There's only 450 seats, for God's sake, so it's small. Am I going to do the meet and greet? No, I've met Vinnie. Now, I don't need to do that again, so I don't care about posters, guitar picks, and all that. If there's a special event T-shirt, I might get one, but I don't wear these T-shirts a heck of a lot. And it won't be, because I don't want to support him. It's just that I'm not interested in it. I might buy one and give it away on the show. Who knows? But I look forward to it. Come on, Graceland, Elvis. That's also, for me, that's another, kind of major win. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, I find it very interesting that he chose that as a selection place to do the show. So what did you think? Were you surprised that he chose Graceland to do this?
Yeah, very. But I totally get why he might. Hold on one second. I got something buzzing behind me.
Still love it loud? So do we. Rockin' Pod returns to Nashville on Saturday, August 25th. Over 25 rock podcasts from all over North America, recording on-site. Vinyl and memorabilia dealers selling the best in rock merchandise. And awesome rock musicians and personalities participating in signing sessions and on-stage panel discussions throughout the day. Special guests include current and former members of Korn, Kiss, Angel, Winger, Loudness, Accept, Bang Tango, King Tracy, as well as producers that have worked with Slayer, Ozzy, Alice Cooper, Sevendust, and many more. More guests being added weekly. Don't miss your chance to be part of an awesome celebration of all things rock. Rockin' Pod takes place at the legendary Nashville Palace, August 25th, 2018. More details available at rockinpod.com. That's ROCKNPOD.com. The Nashville Rockin' Pod Expo. Brought to you by Blind Tiger Record Club, School of Rock Nashville, and School of Rock Franklin, a DBG Productions event.
It's the damn fan that I didn't get around to fixing properly. I'm not even going to bother editing that out. So sorry. That is the reality of life. So Graceland, yeah, I thought it's cool. I don't know what the connection is. I guess we have to wait for the stories, maybe to hear about Vinnie's relationship with Elvis as a musician, and maybe what that inspired. Maybe it's just that it has a nice connection with, rock and roll. And, come on, Elvis as a showman. Who knows? That's what I'd be interested in finding out and look forward to finding out.
And didn't Elvis do a sort of comeback show similar in style where he was just
68 comeback special. Got the video right here,
Just on acoustic guitar and him with the audience around him kind of deal?
I don't remember off the top of my head. It's just the image of him in leather with the big red letters of Elvis behind him. It's a fucking kick-ass video. If you don't own it, watch it. I've got a couple of Elvis videos, but it's kind of mandatory.
Exactly.
All right, so that's kind of just the word on Vinnie Unplugged. We're gonna have to wait and find out more. You can go to VinnieVincentLive.com. He's just brought up Vinnie Vincent Live on Facebook as well. I don't know how much interaction there will be with Vinnie directly. Probably not a whole lot. Who knows? But you can get your news there. And, again, we just report the news. I've explained why I'm interested. Other people may not be. Doesn't matter. There's no right answer. But I think it's going to be interesting, and certainly look forward to it taking place and doing a podcast episode about afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
definitely.
So let's get into it. A little bit more of a topic. Actually, I did want to ask you how things going with Project Gemini, because you have been busy. We haven't seen you for a few weeks because you've been busy working on your new album. Where are you up to with that?
Yeah, well, I'm right in the midst of doing the guitar solos, which are the actual last things that I do before I start doing my mixing. Actually, right when I'm done doing the guitar soloing, I do what's kind of called a mop-up, where I go through all the songs I've done, listen to them top to bottom, get rid of any little noises here and there that might be on the tracks, a chair squeak here or whatever, a cough there, get rid of it and make sure it's all, nice and ready to be mixed. But the solos are going good. Just like with everything, I find that when I'm away from something for a little while, the minute I get back into it, it takes, a day or two to get the gears rolling. And now I'm in full fast forward mode. It's going very well. I'm on the third song. So I got about 6 more to do. Then I got to do the cover songs. The cover songs are going to be obviously a little bit easier because you already have something kind of to like a guide. Not to say I'm going to do everything note for note, but there at least is something there to kind of guide you with it, right?
You have a structure and a basic melody that you can either parallel slightly or, at least it's a guide for where you need to go.
Exactly. So those make it a bit simpler. But everything's going really well. What I'm trying to do, and I think I'm going to do it, is when I'm about halfway through the mixing, I am going to select one song to release early. This is kind of like my like inspiration, how they used to do stuff back in the 80s. Like I remember when Maiden released Run to the Hills like a month before the album came out. So I'm going to try to put out a single from the album ahead of time again for people to listen to. So I'm really looking forward to that because I'm actually having a bit of a hard time trying to pick which one. I'm really happy with all the songs this time, and I think they're all strong. But some of them are more likely than others because I don't think I've ever heard of a single that's 11 minutes long that's released. So I'll probably have to keep that one for album only, and just focus on the ones that are under 7 minutes. So yeah, so it's going really good. Looking forward to it. I'm very happy with the amount of support I've been getting. Lots of people have been following my comments and my little posts I've been putting in regards to the process of this. So thanks everybody again. I really appreciate it. And look for some new things to come up very soon. Some new t-shirt designs and some other interesting things that'll be available as well right around the time when I might be releasing the first single. So thanks again.
And to follow that will be the Project Gemini DVD, the making of. As someone who obviously consumes music, it's always fun to watch someone going through the creative processes and that are involved with it. That's why I always ask you about this stuff. It may not be directly Kiss related, other than you being a Kiss fan as well, but I just find the process very interesting to talk to someone as they're going through it, whether it's this actual creation process or the packaging up, the pressing of the vinyl, all that side of stuff. For all of us who hold a record, here's a little bit more about what goes into it, so it's kind of educational.
And this time though, there is a little bit of a Kiss connection because one of the 3 covers that I'm doing for the record is an actual Kiss song. So
yay. So you'll join a exclusive club by doing a Kiss cover. All right, so let's get to your topic because we haven't seen you for a while. What do you want to talk about today?
Okay, so I was thinking about this kind of long and hard. Now I'm not sure if you would consider this a topic, but I'm going to tell you what I was thinking about, and then I want to get your feedback on this to see if you think I'm completely nuts or if you think this is viable in a sense. I was thinking a lot about the upcoming 2019 tour. Now, what I was thinking about in this regard, though, is I can't help but feel that them going out to do just a concert is just not going to be special enough to me, I think. I think when a band like Kiss is going to call it a day and say bye-bye and ride off into the sunset, I think they want to make it memorable. They're just that kind of band. I feel that they want to, put that kind of impact. I mean, look at Gene when they did the first reunion tour. He couldn't help but say, we're going to go out there and show every band how the big boys do it. So I'm guessing that mentality is going to be there for this as well. So I put down a couple of notes, like jot point forms of what I think might be of interest to make this more than just another tour. Like I put down here, like this should be more like a specialty show and not a concert. Put no opening act. Now, hear me out on this. No opening act, but do different sections of their career throughout the show. Now, no huge Tiger Stadium or anything like that. This should be relegated to something like larger theaters, something smaller, slightly more intimate, and they should do. They should have a lot of like multimedia, like a lot of different screens, and do the show in stages. Like do a 73 to 77 portion of the concert. During that show part, you bring out Ace and have him perform some of the songs with them, and have multimedia in between where they can talk about portions of their career and show different eras of stuff of what like different things that happened during that era. And that'll also, I think, help in saving Paul's voice. If they have these kind of things happening in between, he's not constantly doing his preaching to the audience all the time. He's not constantly having to sing all the time. It'll break it up a bit. And, if you do it in this way where it's like 73 to 77, you bring out Ace. If you can convince Peter to come out to maybe do a little bit of something during that period too, bring him out. Do a 78 to 82 section of the show where you can bring out maybe even Vinnie if they can convince him somehow to do it, right? Do an 83 to 88, 83 to 88, where they can do a special video tribute to Mark St. John and Eric Carr as well during that portion of the show, right? And then obviously the later part after where we could have, Bruce Kulick come in as well for the time when he was in the band. And also during these video things, use the video segments to maybe have it so that when the video is showing, they can change up the set a bit and make like mock smaller versions of different stages. Like when they do some of the stuff from the mid 80s, they can make like a miniaturized version of those lightning bolt staircases that they can wheel out and put out to kind of give it like that asylum look for a couple of songs and have Bruce come out and play. Or when they did some of the earlier stuff, they can have like a miniaturized version of those lighted steps like they did in the Alive 2 era kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like just use that kind of media so that they can darken the stage, go out and change the set while that's happening, and people will still have something constantly to be entertained with at the same time while that's going on, right? And I was thinking about this mainly because if they're going to do such a long tour, they have to think of a way to preserve Paul. I mean, he's very important to the show. He's a main singer of the band. And if they can do these kind of things where they can have different segments done, different people come out as guests as well, then it makes it more than just another concert with a band saying bye-bye. This is now a full kind of show. It's almost like a, like a sort of like a Broadway show almost, where they have something more to offer than just a straight concert. Do you think I'm nuts or what?
I'm very concerned. The logistics are absolutely horrendous in terms of where touring has generally been going the past few years, particularly with a band like Kiss. We've seen Kiss's stages become more and more ho-hum. Maybe that's been a deliberate ruse, make things less interesting, make it less appealing, cheaper, because it's cheaper to take on the road, and it always gives them that final hoo-ha of when they do go out to do something marginally better. And for people to be really, oh, great, it's fantastic, where it's probably not, but compared to what you've seen for the past decade, it might well be. Another concern is splitting it up into segments. It introduces into the equation so many choreographical challenges that, on the one hand, Kiss is a paint-by-numbers band. Every cue, nearly every rap, come on, I mean, is scripted, or at least kind of ballpark,
Yeah.
Again, paint by numbers. There's that one spot. Paul will be standing here when concussions, blah blah blah, go off. Your lights are all the same. Your background screens. It's very planned and staged. So introducing things like having different segments of a show, to me, doesn't seem realistic, in the sense that the cost and the logistics of executing it would just become. I can just imagine them trying to do what Rush did. And Rush, at least, it had the humor part with theirs that Kiss lacks completely. But, I would almost prefer, when we talk about the end, is to do something similar to what you're talking about, but have the elements there as one stage set. So there are no stage, changeovers. They use the big-ass technical or video screen for that purpose, or backdrops a la Iron Maiden, which haven't done that band any harm, even if they look a little bit hokey up close. I think you can do a lot with light.
Yeah.
And light is to visuals what Bob Ezrin is to audio. Sorry, I had to do that. With shadow, with different colors, you can change mood. You can make that set completely different. Look at the 1976 stage and the kind of the textures present with the walls, which under different lighting circumstances look completely different. I'd like to see them bring those sorts of elements together more, instead of your suggestion of having changeovers and you start with 73 to 77. I think sonically, in terms of the material that's being performed, yes, there's no reason not to kind of split the show up into acts, which I hate saying because it relates to symphony, which I despise. But, you start off with that first act, which would be the 73 to 79 for me, kind of general songs.
Yeah.
You save a few of the ones for the encores, obviously, which would be the Detroit Rock City, the Rock and Roll, All Night. And then you go into, the 1980, so Eric Carr era, to 80, 1980 to 90, basically. And you do a selection of songs from that era, and you have a video going in the background of Eric Carr. Maybe, don't do holograms. You use a drum track, a piped-in Eric Carr drum track to perform, and have him performing the same thing on the backdrop as the rest of the band, kind of does the rest of the song. So handle it that way. Mark St. John's a little bit more difficult to honor. Maybe a quick memorial of him at the end of that section in memory of the late Mark St. John, blah, 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 and Eric Carr, so that you mention him, put Mark's photo up, because I don't see Paul or Gene, for that matter, doing any stuff from Animalize. It's just not recognizable enough. I don't see them doing a set that's long enough to cover all of the bases. I just don't see them being able to get through it. I don't think it being right to expect it, and prove me wrong. That's a win if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And if not, my expectations are met. My biggest concern with this whole tour situation, and something that is contrary to your suggestion of, set changeovers, it sounds like it's a no opening act. That's a long show. So my biggest concern when it comes to the end of the road is that it's going to be rushed, half-hearted performances that they're trying, in all appearances, just trying to get off the road as fast as possible. That there isn't any kind of synergy or dynamics to those performances other than we're showing up in city number 27 tonight. We're going to go out at 9:01. We are off the stage by 10:23, and action. That's my biggest concern at this stage of their career, with how some of the performances seem. I mean, I was reading some reviews from people who went to the recent shows, and of course there's always a tremendous breadth of opinion that some people, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Come on, you are seeing Kiss live. That's an awesome thing. There are others that pick up on things that they determine to themselves to be a lack of energy, a lack of the band's low energy. I hate that phrase. That there's no emotion, that it's mechanical, that it's, again, the automatons from Phantom of the Park performing. I mean, what do you think on those? I mean, those kind of things that I raise.
Well, I right away loved the idea of the piping in of Eric Carr for a segment of it, because, and I know it can work. I know it can work, mainly because of the fact that I have a fantastic video here, a Blu-ray of The Who when they were on tour not long ago, and they do that with John Entwistle. They do a song, and they have him on the screen, and they have a track of his playing bass to that actual song, and obviously the drummer's playing to a click because they need to line it up, right? But it's fantastic part of the show, and the audience always loves it because, you have John back, and you can hear that signature bass sound of his, and they have him on the big screen, and he's doing all these fantastic bass runs, and it can be done. They can do the same thing with Eric. They can put him up on the big screen. They can do like overhead shots of him, like, or from the front where he was drumming, and it can be done. So I think that's a brilliant idea that could be added to what I was thinking. Obviously, and that would definitely work with it. I can see your concerns with a lot of the stuff that you said, obviously. I mean, a lot of my notes were just stream of thought, too, so keep that in mind, right, when I was thinking about this. But, the whole idea that I had about the no opener was with the intention that I kind of was hoping it would be a little bit of a longer show, that they were able to break it up like that into acts, so that they wouldn't have to do like a 3-hour straight show. You know what I mean? I always had that in mind, that it would not be that much of a marathon for them, that they could use the videos and these kind of things to help give the band suitable rest breaks in between stuff. And, I'm not surprised that you have the concern as well about them maybe taking this like a rushed thing where they are going to go through it really quickly. I mean, they've done it before. People have accused them doing that in '87. Like when you take a look at that Philadelphia show they did for the Crazy Nights show, that was one of the shortest shows I've ever seen them do. Like apparently during that tour, they were doing really shortened sets during that tour. So it's not like Kiss have never done that before, but they've kind of been in, let's hurry up and get off the stage mode. So, but I really hope in my heart that knowing that this is going to be it, and they're saying goodbye to the fans that have supported them for, coming on to 50 years here, then, maybe they would see it in their heart not to do that. And this is why I was thinking to try to find ways to make the show that much more memorable for the fans, but at the same time, make it somewhat more less complicated for them.
Yeah, going through the motions would be the biggest concern. But, after seeing Utopia, they finished the first set. They're like, okay, we'll be back in 20. Lights come up, people mingle, people talk, wow, a great first half of the show, and Kiss could always show a documentary for 20 minutes celebrating the band, saying, hey, we'll be back in 20 minutes. We're just going to go, Gene's got to go drop a deuce. We'll be, other bands do intermissions in their shows. I think as part of the end, it all depends on what form the band takes as to whether I would want opening acts. I love the idea of Ace being second up with his solo band. If he's not back in Kiss, why shouldn't he be back on the road with them, with his own band, putting on an hour set? Why shouldn't the Kulik brothers be first act up? Then you've got as much of the Kiss family, they're doing it for the cruise, but would there be the money? Would it be possible with Bruce's obligations to Grand Funk, Bob's obligations to what he's working on, and obviously he's not only a musician, he's a producer and involved in other aspects of the business. Ace, would it marry up with what he's doing with E1, releases that are scheduled and whatnot? Could all those pieces fall together? Or have they been working on all those scheduling type issues in advance? It just seems that if there is no reunion, which I really don't want at this stage, because I wouldn't want it to exclude Peter Criss. And I just don't like the idea. I think the ship sailed where I would have liked to see Eric Singer, Gene, Paul, and Ace as a lineup. Didn't do anything in 2001 after the end of that run. So that ship has sailed. I don't want to see them in makeup finishing up with 3/4 while Peter sits at home, whether by his own decision or a lack of invitation, which would be horrible if he wasn't invited to be part of it. If he was invited and opted not to or didn't feel he was able to, then that's a completely different matter. As long as they then go into a studio and film him either doing Beth with the band as a closure, coming up with some way for him to be involved without being involved. I don't want to see him disrespected. I don't want to see Tommy disrespected either if Ace rejoins, because Tommy's given 15 years of service, and like McDonald's, you move up the food chain within the organization, which he certainly has done. But I don't want to see him just cast off like Bruce and Eric were in 1996. So why not get these other bands out there? It's one way of dealing with all the kind of politics. Ace can then travel on his own and not have to deal with Gene and Paul on a daily basis. The Kuliks are representing that era and that music, and me, who has no clue about all the nightmares that it must be to negotiate, would just be a happy guy in my oblivious ignorance.
But you know what? I think that's another absolutely fantastic idea. I mean, you suggesting that kind of complements the different stages idea. Like, I mean, in terms of the eras, because you have Kiss doing songs from various different eras. You have the Kulik brothers who can focus on the 80s material that they would never touch anymore, like they did when they played on the cruise. So that's brilliant. So it's like almost like you're assigning different portions of Kiss's career to different opening acts. You give them that 80s stuff. You give Ace his era, like from maybe do some of his solo album material, some of the songs that he was involved with Kiss, right? I mean, he could even do obviously some of his release Comet stuff. That'd be great, if he did some of those songs to represent that era. too, right? So I think that's a good idea. Bringing those kinds of bands in to do it would be absolutely great. So I think
Indianapolis proved that a lot of this is possible. If you think about what Keith and Steve and the crew organized there, they had Eric Singer behind the drums at the beginning of the set, and then Brent came in, and they were switching people out. Lita Ford comes up. Okay, so the Kulick brothers, why can't you get Bruce, have Eric come in on drums for a song with Gene for one, then have Paul come in to do one, and that's your Revenge era lineup doing songs. Then you have Bob staying there and doing a Paul Stanley solo song. And Todd's there helping out on the vocals, taking off, maybe hitting some of the higher or the areas that, Paul isn't as comfortable doing nowadays. Same goes for Gene. Todd can easily be up there assisting with parts of the vocal textures for Gene to let him have an easier go at it. So you represent that. Then you have the Ace Frehley band. You got Richie Scarlett in the band, so you could do Breakout, and you could dedicate that to Eric fucking Carr, as always. You can have Paul come out and do a song with Ace. You can have Gene come out and do Cold Gin or Parasite with Ace, and then those songs don't need to be part of the Kiss set list because you've represented and respected Ace's contributions. You can then do the pure Kiss stuff at the end, and Ace is back at the hotel, and Bob and Bruce are back at the hotel because they don't need to come out, and you do a shorter set with Kiss. It's a more comfortable set, but you've represented all areas of the catalog. You don't want Vinnie there? Fine. Pipe in a video. Put in a guitar solo. Just kind of like have him up on screen and the guitar solo plays. Boom, you go straight back into the song, and, the solo's been done 1983 style. At the end of the show, you don't have Peter Criss there, you stop everything for a minute and you play a video of Peter doing Beth and Hooligan, give him an extra song, from the day or something recently recorded, even better, with a message from Peter to the fans. It can be done with taste, it can be classy, it can be fun, it can be entertaining, it can be completely unrealistic.
But you know what? When you were talking about that, I was getting excited. Like, I'm thinking to myself, if I went to a show like that, I would be very satisfied with that being the very end of their, touring career or career in general, because that just satisfied all the little things that I wanted to see in a closing show. And it is possible. It's just all about organization. And if people are willing to give a little to get more, you know what I mean? And I'm talking about the band members now, are they willing to maybe, deal with a little extra headache to make this happen? I think it can happen. And I mean, technology is able to make this happen a lot easier than it ever would years ago. And, people understand the importance of this band to the fans. So why not give it at least a shot to do this? I mean, the more we talk about this, I keep thinking in the back of my head that there's no way in hell any of this is going to happen. But, man, if even a quarter of this were to happen, I think it'd be a fantastic show. And I think people would love it. And people would pay extra knowing that they would get this kind of extra value for money if they're getting all these kind of different performances, like you said, with people jumping off with other people, during their sets, with the Kulick brothers and Ace solo. And I think people would make it, worth Kiss's while, let's put it that way, to do it if they were to play a smaller venue to make this kind of thing happen. Because I think that the days of Tiger Stadium and that are over, no matter what kind of a farewell tour they say this is,
That was going to be something that I mentioned. I don't see 96 happening again in terms of the scale and the response. I don't see 2001 happening again because of the scale and response. I don't know how much value having Ace's band or the Kulick brother bands will add to the general public. But I do, over than it being the final kiss, one last kiss before goodnight, whatever. But I do see them being involved, bringing in a lot of the disaffected members of the Kiss Army for one last hurrah. I mean, it's just I don't have the visibility into maybe the business planning that goes into considering what the expectations are in terms of audience numbers for a final run. Is the name, this is Kiss, this is the end, gonna have any more power when people may immediately say, well, didn't they say goodbye 5 times before? That has been an ongoing recurrent theme, that people have this impression that Kiss has done multiple farewell tours. No, they haven't. We know that. But the general Joe on the road, may feel that, we already said goodbye. We saw Kiss already. Kiss has been in makeup on since 1996. So it's not like the original, 10-year run. It's been 22 years since the reunion, and just about everyone who probably wants to see the band has seen them at this point. So if they're not interested or unable to work with those sorts of bands that I've suggested, what would you want in a opening act? And do you need an opening act that brings more punters in so that Kiss can say farewell? That's probably the most worrisome thing to me, is that they do need to partner up in what appears to be almost a co-headlining situation to say goodbye. I would rather then they do what you have suggested, smaller venues, make it more intimate, which probably means it becomes horrendously more expensive with all the kind of value add-ons that the industry now represents.
Yeah, well, and excuse me, and that's why I kind of thought that it might be a good idea to do all these little extra things in their show, because if you're doing something smaller, then they're going to want more money per seat for that, right? So, and you don't want to price yourself out of everybody's pockets either, right? You don't want to make it so that people are saying, well, that's way too expensive, I'm not going to go. So who would be an ideal band to tour with to open, or even to co-headline? Well, I mean, I can't help but think of bands that they've already went with, but I mean, would that be as big a draw again? I mean, Def Leppard, I didn't get a chance to see them when they toured with Def Leppard, and I can imagine that was probably a really good tour. I saw them when they went with Motley Crue, and that was a pretty good tour, and that drew in a lot of people as well. Right now, the only band that's touring right now that I'd love to see, but I can't see that being too good a combination, would be, and I've always thought that they're early on in their career, it was, but maybe now I don't think so much, is Judas Priest. I think Judas Priest are far too heavy for Kiss, I think. I think it would be almost bringing in 2 different audiences.
Yeah, I wouldn't be down with Judas Priest touring with them. If it wasn't another band also doing a farewell, say a band with more of a cult following, saying, this is our final, Kiss is going out on the road for their final tour, so we thought it was a good time to say goodbye as well, and bring in those kind of 2 groups of people. Cheap Trick, again, just remains to be kind of a party good band. But then again, I don't know if you want a band from the same era that has some of the similar issues in terms of sound and musicianship, though they still hold up vocally. So what really complements? I have a really difficult time thinking of a band that I would actually now want. I know we've discussed this topic many times. It comes up. It's just the way it goes. And I know I've suggested things before, but I really don't see anything that I would want out there other than something Kiss related as an opening act, just to bring as many of the Kiss fans back together as possible, for the final. I almost wouldn't want fans of, say, a Cheap Trick who aren't necessarily Kiss fans to be there. It's almost like a wake in some ways. It's a celebration. The end is nigh, so you're saying goodbye. I mean, you can't get over some of the more kind of morbid aspects of that farewell. So do you want to be celebrating, having people going nuts because Cheap Trick's doing their happy songs, and then Kiss is coming out to say goodbye and maybe is a little bit slower on stage than you remember them, a little bit gruffer than you remember them, and whatnot?
Yeah, well, I mean, the only other band that kind of jumped into my head too, but I don't know really what these guys would do in terms of a draw. Probably not too much, but I know that Slaughter have been playing around a lot, but they seem more like a festival, sort of like they're only seem like a festival band. I don't think that they really tour very much on their own. I don't think, or certainly not enough. I don't think to maybe add enough people on a Kiss tour, do you think?
Slaughter's a great pick. I mean, fun. They've toured with them before as well. I mean, but are they interested in going out on that sort of run? Well, maybe not. Maybe they do like they did in the 80s. Look at 87. You start off with White Lion, then you moved on to Anthrax. You had Ted Nugent. I don't want any of those bands, by the way. I'm just mentioning them because of the example. The last thing I ever want to do is see Ted Nugent again. But I'll listen to his greatest hits. He's got too much energy still for an old man. Jesus, that's sick. And you don't want to compare someone who's older than Gene with Gene standing still on stage, but. Break it up, so for the first month of the tour, you get Slaughter. Second month of the tour, you get Cinderella. Maybe.
Yeah, and they're going for 3 years, right?
Yeah, if it's going to be that long, break it up. And then maybe do it by regional areas, because certain bands are more popular in certain areas. So when you get to England, you get that band who maybe will help you, get to Germany, Die Arts, God. But, Rammstein, whatever. Whomever, but I'd still rather just see Kiss Family.
Yeah, well, and I think that makes more sense, mainly from the point of view that Kiss fans will know them more, rather than pulling out a band that nobody has any clue of. Like when I saw them on the reunion tour in '96, they had Degeneration open, and I had never heard of them prior to that show. So to me, it was kind of like when's Kiss going on kind of thing, right? And that's the problem with those kind of bands. I mean, sure, they could be a fantastic band and have lots of fans and stuff like that. So I had no reason to badmouth them, but it's just they had no connection to me through Kiss, right? That's why I think like bands like Slaughter make sense, or the bands that have toured with them before, because you know about them and you heard them talk about Kiss, or they have a love of Kiss as well. So it shows in their playing and what their background is, right? So, I have a really difficult time thinking of any band that would suit them on a tour like this. That's why I can't help but constantly refer back to my make the show smaller idea, put it in a theater rather than a big arena or ice rink or something like that, to just make it more personalized for the thing that people come there to see. People are mainly going there to see Kiss, and they want to see and they want to listen to their history, their popular songs. They want to, and I think the video thing would be definitely helpful. Like all those great ideas you brought up would definitely help to make the show more special than just another tour that Kiss is going out to do. Because that's originally what spawned this idea, was to me, okay, they're announcing a 2019 tour. What's this tour any different than any other one they did, besides the fact that they're saying that they're wrapping it up now with this one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to say that like Nigel from Spinal Tap. Yeah, but this one goes to the end. It goes way past 11, straight to the end. Maybe they should have locked in Greta Van Fleet, and that really pissed a lot of people off who think that they're a hot young band with a lot of attention. Who could be thrown into an opening slot for an hour set quite easily. So I don't know. I want to get on to just a couple of quick topics.
Sure.
We'll be talking more about the end of the road, maybe as more as is known, or perhaps more as it's not known, because it just gives us a chance to rethink these things off the cuff every week. And that's what being a Kiss fan is to me, just the what ifs. It's always cool. Yeah. But there's a couple of threads on the FAQ message board I want to get your take on. The first one is, what sinks Destroyer Resurrected for me? I saw that one the other day, and that, of course, is the resurrected version, remix and remaster of Destroyer that Bob Ezrin did a few years ago. Actually, it's a long time ago now. 2012 was it? And I thought about that. Then I tried to think, when's the last time I actually listened to Destroyer Resurrected? I don't think I've listened to it in years. I know I got rid of my CDs of it because I just had no reason to listen to it. I found it sounds too different from the version I've listened to for decades. It didn't feel comfortable. I loved it, hearing parts of it where he brought things up in the mix that we hadn't necessarily noticed previously. I did not like the things that were changed. I still don't. I find them awkward because they're different. They're like they're like getting someone stamps on your foot.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yes.
they just shouldn't be there. It draws attention to something that, again, my brain just works. So, what sinks it is that it's not the original Destroyer that I've listened to all these years. It's not that I don't like it. I think it's a great thing. I'd love them to do it with different albums. But I don't think they would ever replace the albums were they to do that with The Elder. Well, maybe actually that one might, because it might actually make sense. All of a sudden, it'll be like, boom, okay, that's what I've been missing all these. Oh, so The Elder obviously might or might not. Crazy Nights would be a great one to do as well, but it would never. I don't see it replacing what I've become so used to listening. So that's my problem with Destroyer Resurrected. Do you even own it?
Yeah, I do actually, because when around that time when it was being done, I was I was in another band before called Reckon Was One, and the guy who was singing in the band at that time, he was taking a course in Nimbus in Vancouver, and we all know that Mr. Bob Ezrin is one of the main guys who runs that around along with Garth Richardson, and so that's actually where I met up with Bob, a couple times, and met up with Garth Richardson. Garth is a great guy, big Leaf fan, and when he was talking about this record, that was very hush hush at that time, because there'd been rumor about him doing it on the campus for a long time. A lot of the students kind of had an in on it that he was going to be doing that long before it broke, right? And the guy who I was doing my band with, he was good friends with Bob, and Bob even told him that he had on his desk, sitting there at that time, a bunch of hard drives with the Destroyer multi-tracks on there. So, I was like, I could actually take those and get rid of them and be done with Destroyer. No, I wasn't going to do it. But I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, wow, they had that right there. And just the thought of having something like that so close to you would be fantastic. I mean, so when it was done, I wanted to hear it. Curiosity, obviously. I wanted to hear the difference between the one that everyone's used to and what, came out. And I had the same experience like you had, Julian. I put the record on, and I remember distinctly that I was doing a few things at my desk, maybe preparing something. And whenever something odd would come up that was not on the original, I kind of did like the old, like, what the hell? What was that? Like Beth, for example, when they did that extra that they added back in to that part in there that was only in once, that now occurred suddenly earlier in the song. I was like, wait a minute, what the hell? Like, it almost seemed like the song was shorter, but then I realized, no, it's not shorter. They just added that part in now, and we have it twice instead of once. So it's all these little differences. Like, at first when I heard it, the new mix of it was obviously much brighter, and the guitars are more present, and the drums were bigger, and so there were a lot of things in there that were different. But the first thing that kind of made me go ooh at first, and it was also because I listened to it on headphones, unfortunately, this first time, was that car crash in Detroit Rock City. That glass was like, oh my God, like, I don't know what they did, but it was so sharp sounding on headphone. Unbelievable. Like, and it just goes back to what you said. I was so used to the original version of this album that when things like that happened, they were really a shock, kind of.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. I did just remember another band that would be good as an opening act. LA Guns.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm still waiting for the girl reunion. Okay, another quick topic before we wrap this show up. I Still Love You. The Creatures version or Unplugged? I voted easily. It took me a second. Unplugged. One of the greatest Paul Stanley vocal performances was on that Unplugged album. As great as the studio version is on Creatures, and this is like gold standard against gold standard. Very kind of tough to do, but just because of the live version makes Paul's vocal even more impressive. I don't know how many takes it took him in the studio for the Creatures version. It's irrelevant, actually. Whether it was comped out of a single take or comped out of multiples does not matter. But the Unplugged, there's just something so special about that performance. It's so tastefully done, musically, executed amazingly. Unplugged all the way. I'm going to listen to Unplugged. I'm actually going to listen to Unplugged today as a result of that thread on the FAQ. What about you?
No, I totally agree. I mean, I think that the version that's on Creatures is very good. In fact, I think that version is like a total dictionary example of what a power ballad should sound like. I mean, it has all the power in it, but yet keeps its ballad, format in it. So I think that's a very excellent version of that song. But, the Unplugged one has that much more emotion to it. It's difficult to keep that kind of an emotion in a studio when you're in a little room with headphones on and somebody's coming back and saying, okay, one more time, we didn't hit that part quite right. Let's go back and do that. And, after a while, you're kind of like, oh, shit, again, this line, and then you start losing a bit of the emotion. But when he did it live, you can tell he was in a zone. He was just like locked in. He was singing it. And when he did those little improv lines in it that he added to it, they were so spot on perfect. You could tell he probably couldn't recreate that performance again, even if he tried, because it's one of those moments in time that everything connected for him. And it sounds fantastic. So I agree with you. There's no version of that song that's better than the MTV Unplugged.
No, it was absolute genius. And I mean, also up there with that song is Every Time I Look at You, because he absolutely nailed that. And then, if I recall, he said, we're going to do this again. Why? Because I like it.
Yeah.
Something to that effect. And that really was. He didn't need a second take on that to my ears. Mm-hmm. Again, just absolutely amazing how great Paul Stanley's voice has been, how much I'm going to enjoy it for the rest of my days, how little moments like this, a simple innocuous question on the FAQ about whether you like a Creatures version or an Unplugged one, just makes you kind of giddy because you remember all the great things throughout history. You think of the things that take you back to seeing the expression on the artist's face when he kills a song like that and knows it, and you just see, Paul is Paul. He definitely has very high standards, but while there may be a little bit of a smug glint, it's totally earned when he does something like that. So that's the stuff I love.
Well, yeah, and you know what? If there's one thing that the MTV Unplugged thing did and cemented for Kiss forever, is that it proved once and for all that Kiss are good songwriters. Because if you can translate your material onto acoustic like that and perform it as good as they did, then that just shows how good the songs are in general. Because I believe in that theory. If you can't play your song on an acoustic guitar and just sing it, it's not a good song, And they proved that once and for all with those songs on MTV Unplugged.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, the vast majority of Kiss songs started out live on acoustic anyway, so they should certainly be able to take them back to their original seed and perform them. I do the majority of my writing on an acoustic just because it's about tempos, it's about chord progressions, that's where my shit comes from. Yeah, and shit probably being the operative word for my stuff, but art is art.
Too hard on yourself.
No, art is art. I do it for self-entertainment, not to share with anyone. I share it with myself and the neighbors, and that's as much sharing as I need to do of my music. All right, I had another topic, but let's leave that one for another day because this is a nice, concise episode. So I guess for now, what are your opinions on the topics that we've discussed today? Join us on the FAQ or on Facebook or wherever you listen to the show, and do let us know. If you're watching on YouTube or anywhere, do press like and subscribe to our channel so that you get updates of when we do new episodes. We don't always stick to the same day every week. We put them up whenever, and you'll find out first if you're a subscriber. And we do also appreciate your support by leaving reviews on iTunes and elsewhere. Chime in on the conversation. Let us know that you think we're wrong, because it's all about opinion. This is not about facts. This is what we think and feel at the moment that we're talking about it. But we do like to have conversations and discussions and hear everyone else's viewpoints. So I guess for now, from Mark and myself and our 2 missing participants, who we'll see soon, thank you for listening, and we'll see you again soon. Bye for now. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.